Hello, Bravo bosses. This is the Bravo Investigator Podcast. I'm your host, Dana. And today on our Monday Reality Roundup, we are talking about The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Love is Blind, Southern Charm, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and Vanderpump Rules. So happy Monday, everyone. I hope everyone had a great week and weekend. The holidays are finally over, so everyone is getting back to work, except me, obviously, because I am still, what is that again? Oh, yeah, unemployed. But that's okay. I have a bunch of interviews coming up this week. So I'm actually recording this on Sunday. So on the actual Monday, when you are listening to this episode, I have a really big interview, and I'm really nervous about it because they're going to send the questions 2 hours in advance. Sorry, I'm like a little sweaty here today. They're going to send the questions 2 hours in advance. So not only do I have to like get up early and prepare for that, but then the interview itself. And then I have one on Wednesday. So it's going to be like a busy, crazy week, but I'm excited about it, but also nervous because going through these interview processes and tests that they make you do and questions that they ask, it's nerve-wracking, right? And I do a lot of prep work to help, get myself ready for it as much as humanly possible. Like I actually write down every question that I've ever been asked in an interview. And then before I'm interviewed next, I come up with sample answers for all of those questions, just so that I can't possibly be like caught off guard to the best of my ability. This is the way I am. This is how I prepare for things. So it's going to be a big week of that. And then I have something really special coming up with Ryan Bailey. We're going to be doing something traders related. So stay tuned for that. And that'll be on his podcast, So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey. And yeah, this week we are back to our regularly scheduled programming. So today, Monday Reality Roundup. Tuesday will be 90 Day Fiancé before the 90 days. Wednesday will be Patreon for the Patreon babies. We are doing Vanderpump Rules from the beginning. That is patreon.com/the Bravo Investigator Podcast. If you are able to join, it's only $5 a month for 4 extra podcast episodes a month, ad-free episodes, and early episodes. So it's a really great deal. Head over there. And then on Thursday, we're going to be talking about Vanderpump Rules and Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And then on Fridays, we talk about Southern Charm and the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. So jam-packed schedule. Oh, and we have like Summer House coming up soon. We have the Valley Persian style. I don't know if I'm going to be covering that. I've never watched Shaw's, so I'm not sure if I should. I am like so sweaty right now for those of you watching on YouTube. I don't know what's wrong with me. I just came in from like walking my dog, doing my hair, putting on my makeup, and sitting down for this. And like, that's usually what happens. I need to take like more breaks because, I am a woman of a certain age, so I get sweaty pretty quickly. So yeah, we've got lots of great shows on the horizon. I also covered The Cult of the Real Housewife this past Friday, which was the documentary about Mary Cosby, so check that out. And I also did a new episode of Be True Hollywood Story the Friday prior about Kyle Cook. So a whole 2-hour episode all about Kyle Cook, a whole deep dive right before season 10 of Summer House is coming back. So lots of great stuff to check out, but let's get into our episode today. And I'm excited that we actually have some meat because I feel like the last 2 reality roundups were a little bit light. And that's probably because it was the holidays and the Bravo Lebs and other reality stars are probably spending time with their families instead of like doing crazy shit that we talk about. But, they're getting back into it now. So we do have a lot more to talk about today. So we'll start with the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And on New Year's Eve, Jared Osmond and Brittany Bateman were on the Viall Files. So I'm going to recap that episode to give you a little bit more context into who Jared Osmond is as a man. So Jared actually reached out to them. Shocker. He really wanted to be able to tell his story. And it was really funny because he kept calling Nick and Natalie a big deal. Like it was kind of embarrassing, honestly, in my opinion, that he kept being like, you guys are a big deal. You guys are like really big. You guys have a huge show. You guys are really important. And it's like, okay, calm down. It's just Nick Viall. But he said that he reached out because he's been portrayed in a certain way and he wants to sort of clarify a bunch of stuff. So he said that Donnie, like Donnie Osmond, his cousin or his uncle, I guess. So Donnie is Jared's uncle. He clarified that. And he said that Donnie, in addition to the rest of the family, reached out to him regarding being on the show. And we're like, what the hell are you doing? Don't do this. We don't want you to do this. So he's tried to clarify that he doesn't want fame. He's seen it. He's been around it. He's not interested in it whatsoever. Again, this is just his retelling of this. He said that his dad and his brother are deaf due to being under radiation as babies, and they're in medical journals under bad science. I'm like, okay, this is sort of bizarre. He said that he's 55. He said that he reluctantly agreed to go on the show and that he may be naive, but he really didn't understand that he would be required to be on set as part of her story. Now, that seems ridiculous, but he said that he's never seen a reality show before. And I guess it's possible that he thought that this show was about a bunch of women who hang out together and get in fights with each other. Maybe he didn't think that there would be the relationship aspects as well, and that she would have to show that and that he would have to be a part of that. He says that he has kids, like he has several kids, but some of them won't talk to him because he's dating Brittany. Now, this is because apparently Brittany made a promise to his kids that she wouldn't disparage him on the show, and then she has. So some of them still don't talk to him because of Brittany. He says that they've broken up basically every month, and it's mostly because of the show, because he doesn't like the show. He said that he's not a thirsty person. He has a private Instagram account. Nick called him on the fact that he called Brittany unstable, basically. So there was that scene where we see them like sort of like walking through a forest, having tea, and he's just like, if you could just be stable for like 5 minutes, then maybe we could be together. And he was upset with her about Below Deck and how she was allegedly like flirting with some of the guys on Below Deck. And so that's sort of what that was all about. So Nick is calling him out on it, and rightfully so, right? You do not call a woman unstable or saying that she is not stable. So he said that he actually got calls from like the other women on the show while they were doing like the yacht episodes, the Below Deck episodes, saying that Brittany was all over the guys on the boat, but he didn't think of their breaks like that. He says that when they go on relationship breaks, he considers them a pause and not a break. And so he didn't think that she would be off like flirting with people. That being said, it was sort of confusing about what he does when they're quote unquote broken up. He said that he just works out, but then later on admitted that he will date, right? But I guess, I don't know. I guess he didn't think she would, or he didn't think this break was an actual break. He thought it was just a pause, and maybe during the pauses they don't date. I really don't get it. He does apologize for calling her unstable, but then later defends it by saying that a lot of context was missing. And Nick kind of calls him out on that. And he's like, okay, but remember earlier when you fully agreed that what you said was wrong, right? So he keeps complimenting Brittany and trying to make sure to always go back to the fact that she can do this on her own. She doesn't need him for a storyline. She's a star. She's great on her own. But, you know, Nick does bring it back to the point that if you do end up wanting to be with her long term, you will. And if she becomes like a full-time cast member and not just a friend of, he will need to sort of reconcile wanting to be on the show. He said that he's done filming, and Nick kind of called him out on that too. He's like, are you officially saying that, right? Because you're kind of being wishy-washy about it. And he's like, no, I'm done. He explains that they really are best friends, and that's why they have such a hard time quitting each other. He said that he does take ownership for the majority of their breakups, but he says that there's like these private moments, which obviously everybody has. We don't see all aspects of someone's relationship, especially Brittany and Jared's. We see very little. And he says that because of like these private moments that people aren't privy to, they sometimes lead him to acting in a certain way towards her. Now, that's obviously a bit confusing, and we don't have a lot of information there, but I guess what he's basically saying is like, there's a lot of pieces that you guys are missing. I can't fully explain it all because we have the right to have some private time in our relationship, or to have like some things be private. So because you guys are missing that context that I don't feel that I can share with you, there's sometimes reasons why we get into the fights that we do. And I think that's fair, right? I mean, we all sit around and judge these reality TV relationships like it's a sports event, right? Like we really know them, and like we could do any better when we really don't know what's going on inside of them. And we do sort of treat Brittany and Jared like they're a joke because they come off that way. But at the end of the day, they are real people and a real couple. He says that they are officially together. He clarifies the engagement and says that they paused their engagement, but there were private conversations about that he can't share, which is also confusing because he said to Nick something like, with the engagement, he also wasn't sure if he wanted to go through marriage again after all he's been through. Okay, then don't propose, right? You should have thought about that before you propose. So I wish we had gotten more there. Then they ask him about the DMs that he had sent these DMs to a friend or someone he thought was a friend who was a Utah blogger. So I don't know why you thought a Utah blogger was a friend of yours, but okay. So he was saying all of this nasty stuff about Britney that ended up getting leaked to like Bravo and Cocktails and a lot of other places online where he was saying nasty stuff about her, where, you know, that he was the reason that she's even on the show and just like a lot of shady stuff. All of that stuff ended up being leaked on Twitter. And he was angry because he didn't want to do this. And he and Brittany didn't understand the rules of engagement when it came to blasting each other online. I guess they didn't understand that it stays there forever and that you can't just say something about someone and sort of have it go away, right? Obviously, there's always going to be nuggets of truth in something that somebody says, but I guess for some reason, they didn't understand the ramifications of going at each other online. He did say that he retracted all of the things that he said about Britney. He said that that's what that Twitter Spaces thing that he was doing with Mary Cosby's fan page was, which I never checked out, but I thought that it was him like answering a bunch of questions on Twitter to Mary Cosby's fan page about his relationship with Britney, but he's saying that he was retracting that. They said that they have slowed things down in their relationship because of their kids. So two of his kids don't speak to him because of Britney. And he says that he basically can't go anywhere without people asking him if he's like a piece of shit. I mean, he is a joke, right? Like if I were to see him out and about, he's a joke, right? Like I would take a joke photo with him maybe, but like, you know, as a business person, I don't even think of him as a business person because the show has portrayed him and Britney to sort of come off as like a joke in a way. He says that when he got with Britney, he wasn't emotionally ready because he was still hard up like on his ex, which I thought was really interesting because people shouldn't be getting into relationships if they're not like emotionally ready, right? Like if you know that you're not emotionally ready, it's sort of unfair to the other person. And that's when Britney ends up joining and she sort of adds that context in where she's like, when we met, I was ready for a relationship and he wasn't because he was still hung up on his ex. So then, you know, he would pull away. And then when he was finally ready, she started to pull away when he was finally growing in the relationship. But now they're both all in. She says that they have been broken up since that river conversation where he said that she was unstable, and then they got back together at BravoCon. She told him to come to BravoCon. She said that he never tries to get in the way of her relationship with her children because she went to BravoCon with Olivia, right? And she thought it would be so much fun for him to come, and it wasn't because people were booing him like crazy. But yeah, she says that Olivia is triggered that they are back together, but what she tries to do about it is try to communicate with her constantly about it, really listen to her feedback. And I really love that because I think that that's what's really going to change her relationship with Olivia if she's really treating her as an adult and treating her as like an equal and really taking in what she says. Because I feel like that was one of Olivia's biggest gripes with her mother. It's as like not outside of not just spending enough time with her, but also like not really listening to what her feelings and wants and needs were. And so I'm glad that she's really, really trying to do that with Olivia while trying to maintain that relationship with Jared. Nick and Natalie did ask about the plane, and Natalie was like, Jared, Brittany was texting you the whole time. Can I see your phone? Which I thought was a little odd, but he was like, no, you can't see my phone, but we can like tell you what happened. But we still didn't really get much more about what happened. Brittany said that there is no more footage. Like, we're not going to end up getting like this crazy footage at the reunion. Like, nothing like that's going to happen. She said that Meredith said deplorable and disgusting words about her on the plane, but then she didn't want to share what those were. She kept saying they're horrible, deplorable, disgusting, but then like wouldn't share them. And so, yeah, that was basically it. I don't know what we're going to end up seeing between Jared and Brittany because like while I watched this entire interview, learned a lot more about their relationship, and maybe am taking it a bit more seriously. It's hard until we see change, right? Because, you know, they have broken up every month for the entirety of their relationship. So until there really is a change in their relationship, it's hard to sort of take all these things that they have said here seriously. Listen, I hope that they have a beautiful relationship and that they get married and that they're happy and all of that, if that's what they both want. But then just stop putting us through the back and forth because it's kind of annoying. Okay, so Monica Garcia posted this story over the weekend that says, when everyone wants to accuse Meredith of being an alcoholic, but she wasn't the one that was taken away in an ambulance to the ER for alcohol poisoning and demanded the footage never be shown and cast stay locked in their rooms while she was wheeled away to get her stomach pumped, allegedly. And so everybody was like losing their minds over this. Everybody thinks it's Heather. Here's the thing, though. It doesn't mean that Meredith isn't an alcoholic, which I'm not even saying that she is, right? Obviously, there's this storyline on The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City right now where they're implying that Meredith is addicted to some kind of substances, and we're still just sort of going through it, trying to figure out what's going on here. So Monica is sort of like stirring the pot, but it doesn't mean that there isn't something going on with Meredith. It just means that a lot of these women may have problems with alcohol, which I don't put past them, right? I mean, we've seen this on many shows before. It's not always just one person. Sometimes there's many people. So I don't know. Bring Monica back, man. She is so funny. I think that she would really shake things up. But again, it's so hard when you don't have any friends on the show. If you don't have someone to film with, you can't be on the show. So unless they brought her on with like a friend of hers or something, but still, I really don't think the cast will ever film with her again. They were so like mentally fucked up from the whole reality Von Tease of it all. Okay, let's move on to Love is Blind. We have a few updates here. So Kacie of Kacie and Patrick from the last season of Love is Blind Denver, the one who like spider monkeyed the guy and wasn't attracted to him, but made him believe that they were still engaged, wouldn't give the ring back. Yeah, that Kacie, right? So she was on Alex Hall's podcast. Alex Hall is from Selling the OC. I really like her. I like the show. I think she's like, I like her personality. I think, she was basically one of the main reasons that Tyler Standaland and Brittany Snow broke up. She was really obsessed with him in like season 1 of Selling the OC and, was very inappropriate with him, even like bit his nose at one point. And then his marriage, fell to the shitter. He just recently got married again. But, all to say, Alex Hall started a new podcast. I didn't think it would be something I'd ever really be interested in, but I listened because Kacie was on. And I have to say, I actually really, really like Alex's interviewing style. I think she has a great voice. I think her questions flow very naturally. I think she's a good podcaster. I think she has a great voice. And, if reality TV doesn't work out for her long term, I think podcasting might. I think she's good at it. So Kacie goes on and she said that she wanted to like add some things that she felt about people because she said that a lot of things were said about her, but she never really said anything about anybody else. So she's had all of this time to sort of like sit down, reflect, and like come up with shit about people, I guess. This girl just never really takes accountability, never really says, I'm sorry. And I feel like if she had done that from the beginning, she wouldn't have been so hated. Like she talks on this podcast about getting death threats, which is never okay. But I think that a lot of that comes from just, again, the lack of accountability and just being so kind of deplorable as a person, especially in the way that she treated Patrick, right? I mean, she explains the spider monkeying of it all. She said that's just sort of how she is with people, that she's just like very physical with them, but like that's not the appropriate time. She also said, which really irked me, and that's why I wanted to talk about this. She said that Patrick painted himself to be a very different way in the pods than he was in real life. She said he sort of played it up like he was the life of the party and he was so much fun in high school and he would throw all these parties. He played basketball. But you broke up with him 4 hours later. So what are you talking about, right? Like you met him, when the doors opened, you guys got like to see each other for the first time. And that was it until you broke up with him. So in what sense do you feel like he didn't turn out to be the person that you thought he was? You didn't even have much of a conversation. You're saying that in the pods, he's acting like he's the life of the party. But then when you meet him in person for 10 seconds, where you're both extremely nervous and you just see each other for the first time, you feel like, oh, maybe he's not the life of the party. Like, this is what you really want to try to come up with at this juncture. That's what you took all these months, actually years, if you think about it, because this filmed like 2 years ago. You took 2 years to try to come up with this. She said that she did love him, but it was more of like a friendship type of love. But she did think that she had fallen in love with him. So I guess what she's saying is like, she thought it was love. And then once she saw him, she realized maybe it was more not in love, but more of a friendship type of love. She felt like if she went to Mexico, she wouldn't be staying true to what she was feeling. And then she truly would be doing it just to stay on the show. And for that, I do have to give her credit, right? I mean, if she was a person who really just wanted to be on this show, she could have totally just used him, gone to Baja with him, continued this whole process all the way to the end, right? And she didn't. And so for that, yeah, I guess we have to give her a little bit of grace. She said that Patrick was her main connection the entire time. She said that she thinks she knows herself well and that she knows that attraction just couldn't have grown for her that much, which I guess I understand, right? It just came off like so incredibly badly. She felt like maybe he was playing a part behind the wall. And she felt that when he says, like, again, that he was the life of the party, threw all these parties in high school, played basketball. But then she's saying that, like, even when she sees him now at like group events, he's not really that. And there's no connection. So again, she's really trying to play it all and place all the blame on Patrick, portraying himself to be someone that he wasn't. And listen, I do think that he was probably doing that in a sense. I feel like you could actually feel from him that he was insecure, and that especially after he told her that he was Asian, he was trying to play it up in a way that made him sound like more attractive. Like he would say, oh, my friends always say to me, like, you're hot for an Asian guy, or like, you don't even realize how hot you are, or things like that. Like, I think he was trying to play himself up a bit. And I think that he definitely has to do a lot of work on himself. You could see in the pods that he was struggling. I mean, being the only Asian in his community is something that's really stressful and a struggle. And I think that he has a lot of work to do on himself before he can be in a relationship. But I don't really think the things that she is pinpointing as him not being his true self are things that she, again, would have even have been able to notice even now in like a friendship capacity, because they're not really hanging out as friends. They're hanging out in like group events and whatever, right? Like it doesn't really display, the difference from what he says in the pods necessarily. She did say that she almost left after 5 days because all of the girls were falling in love and she didn't think that that could happen to her here. And she basically said that she wants a man who's going to fight for her and sort of be the alpha. And she didn't feel like that from Patrick. She felt like she had to be the one to text him. And then there was the ring thing. And she felt like she had to tiptoe around his feelings a lot. And she wants someone who's strong and who can take care of her because he never asked, like, how are you? Again, trying to place the blame on him. I don't really feel like Patrick is an alpha type, so I'll give her that. If that's what she's looking for, that's fine. She had to be the one to text him. Again, what are you talking about? You guys came home from Denver. All of this happened within a matter of like days, right? You you said that you needed time, so he's waiting for you. And then to ask how you are. I mean, in all fairness, right? Like he's butthurt too. You come up to him 4 hours after this, spider monkey him, tell him that you still love him and you just don't want to go to Baja. He doesn't know how to function or how to figure this all out because it's so freaking confusing, right? Now, this is really interesting. Kacie said that her family has basically disowned her because of all of this. Her mom hates this. She doesn't want her to like stand up for herself and try to change the narrative, which is what a lot of TV villains try to do, right? They don't like the way that they were portrayed, so they keep trying to like fix it. And her mom hates that. Her mom was very embarrassed by that sex conversation that they had, that whole thing about like pubic hair and all of that. And so she actually says when Alex asks her, was this all worth it? She's like, I can't really say that it is. So that's really interesting. I feel like a lot of people who have done Love is Blind have said that they have found the experience to be worth it. Kacie sort of came away from it with nothing, not a husband, not a boyfriend. I'm not sure if she came away with it with any friends either, and definitely came away with a lot of enemies. But again, I feel like if she would just take some accountability and be like, I shouldn't have, told him I loved him and spider monkeyed him and made him feel like I was going to be with him. I should have been honest from the jump. All of this would have been okay, right? But the way she reacted to everything and trying to place blame on him, it's just going to make her this perpetual villain. Honestly, they should put her on House of Villains at this point. Now, Anna, who is Patrick's other connection, as you may remember from the pods, who also told him like, hey, I'm going to leave. I really don't think that this is for me. she has a new boyfriend. So she says on Instagram, no big deal, just quietly been the happiest I've ever been this year. And she posts a picture of her and this guy. She looks so incredibly happy. So good for Anna. And guess who also displayed a new boyfriend? Madison. Yes, Madison. She has a new boyfriend too. She displayed him on New Year's. She's like, new love, new year. Go check out her pictures with him. He looks really handsome, really nice. And I'm so glad that at least some of the Love is Blind people are finding true love, right? That's what we want for them at the end of the day. If it's not on the show, we're happy for them that they found it elsewhere. Okay, let's move on to Southern Charm. So Salley Carson was on Two Teas in a Pod last week, and she told us that she recently hooked up with West. So there were some pictures that were circulating with West, Salley, Emmy and Will from Southern Hospitality. They were at like a football game or something like that. And they were like posting all these pictures. So she basically confirms, like, yeah, we hooked up when he was in South Carolina, when they went to that football game. Now, when it comes to the show, she said that she's kind of annoyed when she hears the things that Venita is saying about her, like in confessionals and stuff, because she said that Venita knows that she's a girl's girl for her, and she was never trying to date Craig. So this is confusing because it does appear on screen like she is trying to date Craig. So I don't know if she's trying to say that maybe she was just playing that up for a storyline, and maybe she's saying that Venita knows about that. So therefore, Venita should understand that she knows that she's not actually trying to date Craig. And then she made a really interesting point. She said that last year, JT and Venita were like into each other, right? But JT hated Salley and he tried to blackmail her on camera, which was cut. And we did end up hearing about this. Do you remember that guy Ryan who was on the show for like 1 minute last year? Probably not. He got like flustered and beat red at one point trying to tell off JT. But basically, JT was trying to expose to the whole group like text messages or something where basically somebody was trying to harass Salley, I believe, and some of the other cast members, and there was a restraining order put in place. The person who was doing this was friends with JT, to my understanding. So JT was trying to blackmail her, and Venita still wanted to be with him and still wanted to date him. And Salley supported her through that. She was like, listen, I hate JT, but if you want to be with him, I will support you through that. And so, that is sort of like the exact same thing if you think about it, right? Because, Salley had a very good reason not to like JT, but she supported Venita through her wanting to be in that relationship. So why couldn't Venita do the same when it came to Craig? So I guess we'll see what comes out of this. We'll probably hear more at the reunion because obviously, I mean, in real life, we've seen Salley and Venita hanging out, continuing to be friends. But I think as the show is progressing and as Salley is seeing more of what Venita is saying in her confessionals, I think she's getting a little upset, or that's what it sounds like. So I don't know if they've had a chance to work this out IRL, but it's definitely something that we'll probably be hearing about at the reunion. And I just noticed that they're going to be starting an after show. It looks like it's starting this week. I like after shows if there's like enough there. Like for Vanderpump Rules in the Valley, there was always like enough material for there to be like another half hour. But for like Beverly Hills and Southern Charm and stuff, like, is there enough there for us to talk about? I guess we'll see. Okay, let's move on to the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. So last week, Heather Dubrow posted a picture of herself. It looks like it's from BravoCon, like with the BravoCon background. And she wrote a caption that said, excited for what the new year may bring. Diamond, diamond, diamond. Let's fucking go 2006. And then Terry Dubrow commented, diamonds are forever. And then Heather responded to that, love you, honey. So a lot of people are speculating as to whether this means she is going to the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. We know that she is currently on the Real Housewives of OC. We know that casting isn't really happening yet. I mean, we're only a few episodes into the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, so filming wouldn't even start for such a long time, let alone casting. People have always said that Heather should be on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. One, because she lives there, and two, because she lives that kind of life. Because it's funny that she's even called Fancy Pants on the Real Housewives of OC when no one is called that on Beverly Hills because everyone is Fancy Pants, right? So it just makes more sense that she be on that show because she fits in more naturally in terms of like her lifestyle. But she has always said that OC is where her friends are. Those are her real friends, her real friend group, and that's where she plans to stay. So I don't know if she's teasing nothing, something. I don't really know, but either way, I'm here for it. So on New Year's Eve, Kyle and Mauricio were at the same New Year's party. It was Kate Hudson's New Year's party. And apparently they were touchy and warm and were all over each other. And articles are saying that they are very obviously together. And I was just like, what? Listen, not that I'm not happy about it, okay? Do I believe that Kyle and Mauricio are meant to be together? Absolutely. Do I think they're each other's lobsters? Yes. But to put us through all of this for like 2 years, are they kidding us? I can't, right? Like, we've had to watch Mauricio kiss all these random women all over the world and in parking lots. We've been speculating about what Kyle was doing with Morgan. We've been wanting them back together for 2 years. And then we thought this would never, ever happen because too much time has passed. And to be honest, like, I don't even think I could ever do this because, if my separated husband went and slept with so many people, I don't think I could get over that. Not that he's not allowed, he's very much allowed. It's just the grossness of it. Like, my ex and I broke up and got back together a year later. He hadn't slept with anyone, but he like kissed someone. And I know that's like nothing, but like it tore me apart because he was like the love of my life at the time. And I couldn't fathom the idea that he was ever with another girl. Like, that absolutely drove me crazy. And if he were to have slept with someone else, I don't think I could have slept with him again because that's just gross to me. I'm also a germaphobe. I think a lot of this has to do with me. Again, anyways, Kyla Mauricio, do we want it at the end of the day? Absolutely. I just think it's insane given how much time has passed, how much has happened, all of the speculation. And has it really changed the real reason she ended things with him in the first place, which we still don't really know? We assume that there was some cheating. We never really got an answer as to what he really did, except for the fact that he didn't really fight for her once she decided that she wanted to separate. To know that this 30-year marriage could possibly continue, I mean, it gives us all hope if you think about it, because I feel like the hardest part when they separated for the audience was thinking like, if they can't make it work, then how can I in my life, right? I feel like a lot of people looked up to them as a couple and were really disappointed when this didn't work out. And I feel like that's something that Kyle talked about a lot too. She felt like she was letting down the people and letting down the audience. And I feel like this does give people hope, not just for Kyle and Mauricio, but for their own lives. I feel like that's a real thing. When you see a solid, amazing couple that have been together forever break up, you're like, well, there's no hope for me then. If they can't make it work, how can I? Right? That's always the mentality. And so I think that if this is really true and this really happens, it'll bring people a lot of hope. Like, Merry 2026, right? This is what we want for everyone in 2026. Like, we want Kyle and Mauricio back together. I just think it's just so crazy. I just can't even believe it. I guess we'll see if this is true and if it's real. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them to just be very touchy-feely because they were together a long time and it's Christmas time and they're spending time with their family, right? So maybe they have always just sort of been that way, and people who are watching this at a party are interpreting it as them being very obviously together, when for all we know that this is just how they operate because they're so used to being touchy-feely for having been together for 30 years. Who knows? But I'm excited to see what'll happen. I hope we actually get some truth from them and they're honest with us about it. That being said, I appreciate that if they are trying to sort of figure this out, that they want to keep it on the DL until they can sort of figure it out for themselves, right? Like, you don't want to announce it to the public until you sort of know for yourself. Same with like when you have young kids and you break up and get back together, you want to make sure that it's like for real and for sure before you put the kids through it again, So wishing the best for Kyle and Mauricio, but again, how dare you? Okay, let's move on to our weekly Denise and Aaron drama. They are still going through their insanely contentious divorce, and the news of the week is that Denise Richards ex, Aaron, is now facing a grim future as his mom is starting a GoFundMe for him because he is apparently going to be homeless. This is absolutely ridiculous. Here's an article from OK Magazine that I found. It said, Richards is no longer living in the Calabasas property amid her contentious divorce from Vipers after nearly 6 years of marriage. She claims she moved out of the home 2 years ago in court documents obtained by Page Six in August. According to the actress's filing, she was under the impression Viper's family would only be living there temporarily. The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills alum allegedly informed Vipers that he would be in charge of the rent starting in January while his family still lived in the home and refused to leave. The filing stated that the ex's landlord had allegedly been trying to contact Vipers about unpaid rent for the past 6 months, but had been unable to get a hold of him, thus serving them with an eviction notice since both of their names are on the lease. Denise Richards and ex-Aaron Vipers have been ordered to vacate their home in Calabasas, California after failing to pay rent. According to court documents obtained by Page Six, a Los Angeles Superior Court judge signed off on their landlord's request to evict them from the property on Friday. According to the complaint, the two owe $84,000 in rent that they haven't paid. The landlord also requested that the two pay attorney fees and for damages. Richards, 54, and Vipers, 53, signed a lease for the property in June 2020. They paid a $24,000 security deposit. Richards also alleged that Vipers and his family had severely damaged the house, describing the condition as being in a state of disarray. So then we see this GoFundMe come out that says, please help my son Aaron, a grandmother's cry for justice. They're seeking $110,000. And at the point that I screen grabbed this yesterday, it said that they had raised $1,308. Like, this is insane to me, okay? The eviction makes sense, okay? And I don't really consider it Denise being evicted because she hasn't lived there in 2 years. She told Aaron, hey, you and your family are living here. You pay for it. So now it makes sense that they're being evicted because he hasn't been fucking paying for it. And now they're trying to get money for Aaron to live because he's going to be homeless. This is an able-bodied man. He's capable of working. It is insane that they are trying to reach out to the public to give a man who used to be very, very rich money so that he won't be homeless. There are many ways that he could try to be obtaining revenue if he wants to. He could be going on OnlyFans, right? You go do that, buddy. Go do Foot Finder. Go do whatever. Because, Denise was making money off of OnlyFans. So you go ahead and try and do that. To try to garner sympathy from the public when you have been so obviously abusive to her in the public, why would anybody want to help you? It's weird that he keeps trying to do this and that his family keeps trying to do this because I think we as the public have made it very apparent and obvious that we don't fuck with him, right? We don't like him. We're not going to help him. I feel bad for Denise that she's on the hook for this eviction situation because now this is on her record. And while she could probably very easily pay off this whole thing, she shouldn't fucking have to because she hasn't lived there in 2 years. Aaron and his family should be paying for it. And why haven't they been? I know that he had to shut down his sketchy business after he had been sued, but then start a new business. Or, there's so many ways that people can obtain streams of revenue based on their following, based on online sorts of, if he wants to do this stem cell shit online, he could be talking about it online. I'm sure he could gain a really crazy big audience and be able to make money that way. Do Cameo, do lots of other things that you can do to garner an income as opposed to trying to get it from the public. It also makes me feel like there's no difference between him doing a GoFundMe and going on unemployment when, again, he is fully capable of working. It kind of reminds me of like Brian Abasolo and Rachel Lindsay when he demanded spousal support from her, which, yes, legally he was entitled to, but that was because of like old laws. You are a chiropractor, sir. You are a doctor of chiropractic. Get a job as a chiropractor or do chiropractic shit online and like make a business out of that. It's crazy to try to get money from other people when you are fully capable of making an income yourself. I'm just saying, it's like me trying to do a GoFundMe because I'm unemployed. Like, I am capable of working. It's just so unfair. Not that I'm not trying to get a job right now. I am. But is he? I really don't feel like he is. He's really just going like this victim route. Whenever he talks to the media, he plays the victim. He acts like Denise is like this like abuser and like she beat him up and all this shit. And none of this happened. And nobody feels bad for him because, again, he was abusive on screen. We all saw that. We all never liked him. And for those reasons, we don't fuck with you, man. We do not fuck with you. Please get a job. Okay, let's move on to our last story of the day, which is Vanderpump Rules. So do you guys remember Brett Caprioni from season 8 of Vanderpump Rules? Probably not. This was the season where they brought on a lot of new random people, which were Brett Caprioni, Max Boyens, Charlie, Dana Cathan. And that year was supposed to be the transitional season between keeping some of the younger members of the show on Vanderpump Rules and then transitioning some of the older members of the show to the new Vanderpump Valley, which is the Valley as we know it today. So Max and Brett ended up being fired at the end of season 8 of Vanderpump Rules because of racism. So did Stassi and Kristen, and Jax and Brittany were also let go that year. So that transitional show never ended up happening until more recently. But regardless, on the show, we see Brett going on a date with Charlie, and he's talking on this date the entire time about his ex-girlfriend, to the point where Charlie's like, what the hell? I've never been out with somebody who can only talk about their ex. That being said, Charlie had a boyfriend at the time, so the whole thing was fake, and she recently married him as well. But you know, Brett came out recently and said that he and his ex-girlfriend, Carly Bell, have gotten back together. She is a big makeup YouTuber, and this was the ex-girlfriend that he was talking about. So they had been broken up for 5 years, and he recently found his way back to her. He made this whole post about how, you know, he'd go out with other girls, but would always talk about her. He went on reality TV and would still talk about her, and how at the end of the day, like, she is his person, right? And so it is really cute and amazing when people are able to find their way back to each other. It's sort of different from the Kyle and Mauricio of it all because they are constantly together, so it's not really like they're finding their way back to each other. But I think Brett and Carly hadn't spoken for years, weren't even living in the same place. And so the fact that they were able to find their way back to each other is really beautiful if you think about it, because you know, sometimes people are meant to be together, but they're just not meant to be together at that particular point in time because that just isn't the right time for them. And then when they find each other again, and it is that right point in time and everything just sort of like falls beautifully into place, I just think that's amazing, right? So they ended up getting engaged on December 31st, 2025. Carly wrote, "Easiest yes of my life, we're engaged." So congratulations to Brett and Carly, right? That's a very nice, happy ending. And a little bit more Vanderpump Rules news. Allie Luber is officially moving to South Carolina. She just reported on her stories this morning. We know that she had went out there this past summer. She filmed a little bit for Southern Hospitality, which she said wasn't really like a big deal. She's not sure how much is actually going to be in there. But we do know that she has family in South Carolina, and she had been considering moving. She had talked to Dana and Katie about it on their podcast, Disrespectfully. So I think it makes a lot of sense. We definitely saw her talking about it a lot, wanting to transition there, living sort of like a slower life. So like, good for her. I'm happy for her. I don't know if that'll mean that she'll end up becoming like a cast member on Southern Hospitality. I'm also not sure if that's something that she necessarily wants, but I guess we'll see. I guess that's, you know, to be determined. All right, you guys, that is the end of our stories for today. I hope that you enjoyed the episode. If you want to follow me online, you can do so on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, and YouTube at The Bravo Investigator. Also join me on Patreon at patreon.com/The Bravo Investigator Podcast. And I love you, BBs. I will see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Bravo Investigator Podcast. For more content, head over to patreon.com/The Bravo Investigator Podcast. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at The Bravo Investigator. If you enjoyed the show, leave a 5-star review. Love you, BBs. See you next time.